Hello, hello. Welcome to Yoga with Rocks, thriving and vibing on Thursday. I am super excited to see you all. I literally have my glasses on my head. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So I picked a card earlier. Honestly, I started class and I was 15 minutes into it, and then everything went sideways. So I'm starting all over. But today's card, our intention, our super attractor card for today is the universe has big plans for me and it's time to claim them. The universe has big plans for me and it's time to claim them. So as we begin our practice, starting to think about what are the things that the universe has in store for me and how for you, and how are you starting to allow those things to come into your life, and how does that translate to our yoga practice today? Well, sometimes our bodies have a different plan than what we have. Maybe we want to go into a full splits or to a handstand or a headstand, but our bodies have a different plan. So listening and receiving so that we can perform at the best possible way that we can in that moment. I don't know if that made sense. I hope so. But today we shall stay present just like we always do, listening to our bodies, feeling how a position or a pose feels in that specific moment, and just taking the opportunity to honor that and either pull back a little bit out of a pose or just skip it altogether, knowing that we have the option. And I finally found, I know y'all can smell it if you've been to one of my live classes, just a little essential oils to get the space clear, just to trigger us into that sense of this is now time for self-care, for me to be able to, without worry, without concern, without thinking of the to-do list that we may have, the time for us to be selfish and just take care of ourselves. Selfish probably isn't the right word, but we'll go with it for today. We're going to be focusing in on our feet and the positions of our feet today in our practice. We do that every day, but specific awareness will be brought to the feet today. So let's just, with the feet flat, so we're not lifting heel, like peeling the foot off the mat. We're just lifting it up and trying to place the front and back part of our foot down at the same time, almost like we're doing just a little march, and just bringing awareness into the base of our feet, the bottoms of our feet, noticing the arch, noticing if when we step down, does the foot collapse inward, like our knees come together, or do our feet open to the outside, or do we land nice and even on the outer edge and the inner edge of our feet and the front part and the back part of our feet? Now just taking a nice deep breath in, and then press both feet into the mat equally, lifting our toes. And then just set the toes down on the mat. And now we're just going to grip our toes into the mat, and we'll feel the arch of our feet just raising up. So the inner arch is raising up. We might feel the midline arch of the foot begin to raise as well. See if we can get the outer edge, the arch on the outer edge of our feet to come up as well. And then just relax. So as we move through our practice today and the warrior sequence, we'll be bringing awareness back into the inner edge of our feet and the outer edge of our feet, and just seeing if we can keep that even stance, that even footing. Inhale, let's reach arms up overhead, lengthening through the spine. Exhale, press the arms down by our sides. And we're just going to flow here with the breath 5 more times, arms sweeping up. Finding length and extension on the inhale, and arms pressing down, grounding and centering, bringing everything towards the midline as we exhale. Inhale, arms up, pulling the belly button in and up. See if we can find another inch or two of length in the spine as we breathe in and up. Micro bend in the knees, so making sure the knees aren't locked back. 2 more. Inhale, arms up. Float the arms down as we let the breath go out. Last one. Inhale, arms up. And press the arms down as we exhale. Let's just inhale, arms open, straight across, opening across the chest, thumbs pointing towards the back of the mat. Then exhale, we're just going to bring arms together, giving ourselves a nice big hug. Inhale, arms open up, pressing the thumbs to the back of the mat. Exhale, bring the arms together, squeeze, and open up on the inhale. Exhale, bring the arms together, just warming up those shoulders. Inhale, open. Exhale, arms come together. Last one, arms open. Broad across the chest. Exhale, press the arms down. Just shake it out. Just warming up the shoulders here. And let's find that standing mountain pose. We're going to move into our chair flow. Inhaling, arms extend. Finding length in the spine, rooting through the feet. Keeping that micro bend in the feet. And then from here, we're just going to imagine there's a chair behind us, pressing our sit bones back. Keeping the knees lining with our toes. We can bring hands to heart center or just reach arms straight out in front as we sit back deep into our chair. Checking in with our feet. Maybe we might have a little more weight in the heels, but how are we counterbalancing? By pressing into the front part of our feet, not the toes, but the pad part of our feet. And then from here, we're just going to inhale, sweep arms way up overhead. Exhale, reach back and sit back to our chair. Arms extend. Inhale, reach back. Arms extend back overhead. We can continue this arm movement as we exhale into our chair. Inhale to extended mountain. Or we can make a little smaller movement. Exhale, hands to heart center, sitting into our chair. Inhale, extend. Arms just reach up overhead. So just making that decision for ourselves. Do we want that bigger movement? Creating that bigger capacity for building heat in the body. Or today, we just maybe want to go back to that movement that we're familiar with. Just remembering to breathe and move, connecting with the feet. Noticing now, as I lower into my chair, do I open and lift the inner edge of my feet? Or do I collapse to the inner part of my feet? Or am I pressing evenly in all parts of the foot? And just do 2 more. Last chair. And we'll all meet in standing mountain pose. Shake it out. Again, lots of work in the shoulders. We're going to step to the long edge of our mats. Bring the heels in so feet are wider than hips distance apart. We may need to take a little wider stance once we bring the heels in. Arms reaching up, 5-pointed star. Pulling the belly button in. Checking in with the feet again. Equal distribution. Front edge, back edge, inner edge, outer edge of our feet. Then as we lower, knees track with the toes coming into that goddess pose or moonflower. Keeping ourselves lifting up, engaging those glute muscles, only lowering as far as we can, maintaining control. Then from here, we'll go ahead pressing up, reaching to the sky, lengthening, 5-pointed star. And we'll just flow here with the breath. Exhale, we lower. Inhale, we inhale. Reach up. Exhale, lower, coming back down. Just flowing here with the breath. Only going as low as it feels good in our knees and our ankles. Noticing if the foot impression on the mat has changed. Just continuing to flow and breathe. We can always bring hands to hips and just lower down. Let's do 3 more. And 1 more. Now we'll transition to our sunflowers. So we're all going to start hands on the knees and just lower the hips down, keeping the head and heart lifted, and then reach to the sky. We're just going to do 2 more like that. Hands on knees, lower the hips, keep the head above the heart, heart above the hips. Inhale, reach. Coming back down on the exhale. Now if we want to continue that, we can sweep the arms down and then inhale, come back to the sky. So finding whichever version feels right today. And then again, check in with the feet. As I lower, does the weight in my feet change? Or am I pressing evenly in all parts of my feet? Maintaining that healthy arch, that healthy lift in the middle part of my foot. Just continue to flow in control. Breathe. Move a little slower. And let's do 2 more. Remembering we always have that option to rest if we need it. And then let's step back to the top of our mat, standing mountain pose. Hands on hips, shoulders roll back. Squeeze the elbows toward each other. Press the thumbs into the lower back, creating a little bit of a spinal extension. So heart's lifting up to the sky. Elbows are pressing back. Belly button's pulling into the spine. Breathe. And release. Shake it out. Let's do our first round of sun salutations. Utilizing that modified version if we want to, where we're stepping the feet forward or stepping the hands back, knowing we can also skip the chaturanga when we lower down and just go into down dog. Standing mountain pose. Hold each pose for 3 breaths. Inhaling, arms will extend. See if we can relax the shoulders down and away from the ears. Creating some space in the neck and shoulders. On our next exhale, let's swan dive forward, nice flat spine. Bend the knees as much as we need to. And as we're flowing down to the mat, notice, did the weight in my feet shift from one foot to the other to the outer edge of my feet? On our next inhale, flatten the spine, halfway lift, monkey pose. So even though we shift our weight back, and then a lot of the weight shifts into our heels, press the front part of the foot into the mat. Not the toes, just the front pad of the feet. Lengthen through the crown of the head. So this is also a spinal extension. So we want to avoid this rounding, which is okay to start with because we may have really tight hamstrings and we're rounding. And our work comes to try and flatten the spine, and eventually we'll get to a nice spinal extension. And maybe the legs get straighter. On our next exhale, hands come firmly to the mat, and we'll step back to plank. We can just float into downward facing dog or lower through our chaturanga. Toes point back. Inhale to cobra. If we're in down dog, just go ahead and hold down dog for now. We're all going to be there in a moment. Tuck the toes, press up and back, downward facing dog. Now we're all in down dog. Heels can be lifted off the mat. Tailbones pressing up and back. And just breathe. Fingers are spread wide on the mat. Pressing through the finger pads, the palms slightly lifted. We're just not dumping into the wrist, making the fingers curl. We're pressing the fingers out and wide. Breathe. We have the option here. We can walk the hands back, coming into forward fold, or extend the right leg, then step through high lunge, crescent lunge, and we're all going to meet in forward fold. Chair pose. Extended mountain. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to monkey. Exhale, coming back to plank. And then we can press up to down dog or lower through chaturanga. Inhale to cobra. Downward facing dog. Now we're all in down dog. And we have the option, walk the feet, baby step the feet to the top of the mat and find forward fold, or lift the left leg straight back, step through high lunge, left foot next to the left hand. Then inhale to our crescent. And then we shift our weight forward. On the exhale, step forward. Chair pose. Extended mountain. And standing mountain pose. One breath, one movement. Just remembering as we inhale, we expand, feeling long. And as we exhale, we're bringing things in towards the midline. Exhaling, contracting. Inhale, arms reach. Lengthen. Fold forward. Nice flat spine. Knees bend as much as they need to. Inhaling to monkey. Exhale, floating down, stepping to plank. Downward facing dog or lower through chaturanga, cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog. Either walk the hands to the back of the mat, coming to forward fold, or right leg extends. Stepping through high lunge. Crescent lunge. Stepping forward, back foot comes to the top of the mat, forward fold. So we're all in forward fold. Chair pose. Extended mountain. Forward fold. Inhale to monkey. Hands to the mat firmly, then stepping back to our plank. Downward facing dog or lower through chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog. We can either baby step the feet to the top of the mat, coming to forward fold, or extend that left leg, step through high lunge, crescent lunge, and coming into our forward fold, back foot stepping to the top of the mat, fold here, reverse up, chair pose, and extend, extended mountain. Standing mountain pose. Yay, one more round. I'm going to do the modified version. Standing mountain pose, arms extend. Forward fold. Inhale to monkey. Hands firmly to the mat, stepping back to plank. You can lower through chaturanga or press into downward facing dog, cobra or up dog. Let's all meet in downward facing dog. We have the option, lift the right foot, step through high lunge, or walk the hands to the back of our mats, forward fold. If we step to high lunge, crescent lunge, then stepping to the top of our mats, forward fold. Chair pose. Woo! Extended mountain. Forward fold. Monkey pose. Hands come to the mat. If we're at the back edge of the mat, just walking into that plank position. So walking the hands forward. If we're in that forward fold, and hands to the mat, step back to plank. Lower through chaturanga or press up and back, downward facing dog. Cobra or up dog. And we'll all meet in downward facing dog. We can either lift the left leg and step through high lunge, or baby step the feet forward, coming into forward fold. High lunge, we come to our crescent lunge, shift our weight forward, stepping to the top of our mats, coming into our forward fold. We're all in forward fold. Chair pose. Woo, hands can extend or rest at heart center. Extended mountain. And standing mountain pose. Nice job, beautiful. Let's do a little warrior. We're going to hold each warrior for 5 to 8 breaths. Remembering any point we can come out and straighten a leg, or just standing mountain pose or downward facing dog. Arms extend overhead, shifting weight into the right foot. Let's exhale, arms down by our sides. Then let's shift the weight into the left foot. Just noticing as we're shifting our weight from one foot to the other, how we are keeping the weight distribution in our feet equal. Breathing. Let's go ahead. Keep both feet equally pressing into the mat. Inhale, arms extend, forward fold, nice flat spine. And just let the head hang here in this forward fold. Finding length here. We're going to be here for about 5 breaths. As we inhale, feeling the space between our shoulder blades expand. And feeling the crown of the head extending towards the mat as we exhale. If we're feeling a lot of tension in the lower back, we can bend our knees just a little bit more, or even a lot. So we relieve that pull that we might be feeling in the lower back or the mid back. Finding that equal weight distribution in our feet. From here, we're going to halfway lift, monkey pose. So in that fold, we were allowing the space between the shoulder blades to open and expand. Now we're pressing the shoulder blades into the back of the heart and to the lungs, feeling the expansion now across the chest. Then we'll exhale, bring hands to the mat. We're just going to step the left foot back, coming to our high lunge. We're going to lower the back heel, holding here. And we're going to bring the right hand on top of the right knee. Make sure the right knee is lined up with the toes and the ankle. Engage that lower body, the hamstrings, the quads, the glutes. And then from here, we're going to use the hand and swing up and open with the opposite hand, coming into our warrior 2. Whew. Breathe. So making sure that the foot that's in the back is nice and evenly distributed on the mat. I'm just going to go ahead and show some of the different things that can happen. So sometimes we'll roll onto the inner edge of the foot and the outer edge will lift. Another is to roll out on the outer edge and the inner foot will lift up. We want to make sure we're pressing the inner edge and the outer edge equally. I'm just noticing how that changes the engagement and the muscles in our thighs. Also making sure that this back knee has that micro bend and it isn't being locked back into position. Just breathing. And then from here, we're going to go ahead, reaching forward and then lift ourselves up and back into reverse warrior. Oh, relax the shoulders. Squeeze those glute muscles. lifting ourselves up and back, creating a big smile with our spine. Now, if that front leg is getting tired, we can always straighten the leg and then go back. Exhale, come back to warrior two. I'm going to switch my direction again. And from here, we're just going to reach forward and rest the elbow on the knee. We're going to stack the shoulders. Opposite arm reaches up to the sky. We can stay here. Bicep can rest on the cheek. We can always bring hand to hip, or just let the opposite arm just rest behind, maybe reaching behind us. Squeeze those glute muscles. Again, check in with that weight distribution in that back leg. So even though everything is coming this way, we're still pressing into that back foot. And let's all go ahead, come back to our warrior two. Straighten the front knee. Oh yeah. Triangle prep. Let's reach forward. Come back to center. Exhale, reach forward. Hold here. So the hip of the front leg is pressing back. So from the side. In this position, toes pointing forward, staying in that warrior two foot. And as we reach forward, the hip presses back and this hip crease increases, allowing us to stay long through the torso and spine. And as we come back up, everything realigns. Shoulders relax. Let's find triangle pose. Reach. Hold here. And then lower the arm. Stack the shoulders. We can bring the gaze up to the ceiling, up past the fingers, down to the floor, or just gaze straight across. So even though we're letting a little bit of a dip come here, we're still active, still pressing into that foot. Because a tendency is sometimes just to dump everything forward because the head and torso is going that way. So if this is where we're at, we might want to think about bringing that hip femur bone engagement back into the hip socket where it belongs. And that's inhale, coming up. Reverse triangle. Have those been 5 to 8 breaths? Maybe I need to go back to school and learn to count. So again, in this reverse triangle, equally pressing into both feet, we're lifting up through the midline and reaching. So the tendency here is also just to go, oh, look at me in this reverse triangle. But we really are going to find most of the magic happening by really lengthening up through the midline and then creating that natural arch. So it's a little bit of a spiral, shining our hearts to the sky. Back to warrior two on the exhale. Whew. Squeeze those glute muscles. Then check in again with the foot. Did we start to really go onto the outer edge or come into the inner edge, or did we do a good job keeping that equal distribution of weight in that back foot? From here, we're going to transition into warrior one. So everything down here stays the same. Maybe the hips come forward just a little bit. And then we'll shift our weight forward, lifting the back heel, coming into our crescent lunge. Breathe, hold here. This is a good time to explore our crescent lunge position. I'm trying to find a good angle. So sometimes we find ourselves with a really big bend in the back and in the lumbar spine, trying to get this leg straight. But if we were to look at our pelvic, we're dumping everything out the front edge. So we want to tuck that under, and then if we need to bend this back knee to keep everything in line. Let's go ahead and gently shift our weight forward, coming into a forward fold at the top of our mats. Let's find chair pose, whichever version is feeling right in our bodies today. extended mountain. Exhale, forward fold. Again, just checking in with our feet. On our next inhale, let's halfway lift monkey pose. Shoulders roll back, lengthening through the spine. Tailbone pressing up and back. Really active hamstrings, the backs of the thighs. On our next exhale, hand comes down to the mat. And let's step the right foot back this time. Lower the back heel. Bring the left hand to the left knee. And then we're just going to spiral open, coming into that warrior two. Some options here. I didn't show these on the other side, but we get options. We can always take a short stance warrior two. This is completely acceptable, and if it feels good today, then definitely express that short stance warrior two. Some other options, we can go to that medium, or take a really, really deep and low warrior two. Be really mindful of the knee, the ankle, and the foot in the back in that back leg. Shoulders relax, down and away. Keep the inner core pulling in and up, pulling the knees towards each other. Reach forward. Keep the hips where they are. Reverse warrior. Shoulders relax, down and away from the ears, spiraling the heart up and open to the sky. Breathe. If that front leg gets tired, we can always straighten it for a moment and then go right back in. Breathe. And asking ourselves, what does the universe have planned for me? Can I be open to accept those big plans? Warrior two. We're going to reach forward. Elbow rests on the knee. So if we took that shorter stance, warrior two, we might need to step back a little bit with that back leg. Press the pelvic bone forward. Length through the spine. Heart spiraling up. Opposite arm can reach to the sky. Rest on the hips. Or just hang out behind. Woo. Remember, press into that back foot, but don't lock the knee. Keep that micro bend in the knee. Head, we can look straight out in front. We can bring the gaze up to the sky. We can look down at the mat. Breathe. Let's go ahead and spiral ourselves back up to that warrior two. Straighten the front knee. Woo! Preparing for triangle. Let's go ahead, reach forward. And come back to center. Then reach forward. Go back to center. Check in with the feet. As I'm reaching forward, is there equal weight in the back leg and the front leg? If so, yay, bravo. If not, how can I create that equal weight distribution even though all of my weight is shifting forward? One more time, back to center. This time we're going to float into our triangle. Reach, lower that arm, stack the shoulders, opposite arm reaches to the sky. Whew. Check in with the lower back. If the lower back starts to hurt, we can always rest the hand on the knee or tune back into the core, and then maybe you come back to our triangle. Woo! Reverse triangle. Breathe. Warrior 2. Warrior 1. Lift the back heels. We shift our weight forward. And then find crescent lunge. Back heels lifted. Remember, we want to keep that pelvic in a neutral position. So if we're feeling a really big crunch in the lumbar spine and the lower back, see if we can pull the core, pull it in so that pain goes away or that little pinchy feeling goes away. Or we can take a shorter stance in this crescent lunge. We have all the options. We can also go into a supported crescent lunge with knee on the mat. Exhale, let's all shift our weight forward, back foot stepping up, forward fold. Chair pose. Extended mountain. And standing mountain. And just move any way that feels good in the body right now. I'm going to do some balancing poses, and we're going to make our way onto our mats. Standing mountain pose. So we are going to play with Warrior 3 and Half Moon. I'm going to show you some alternate movements. We're going to stair step our way into the poses. Listening to our bodies, deciding, is this my place to stay for now? Do I want to try and push a little bit? And if I fall, that's okay. I can go right back in. So just accepting that as a possibility and being okay with it. So we're going to start balancing on the left foot. First pose is Warrior 3. First option, actually I'm going to face this way. First option in this Warrior 3. Step back and begin to hinge at the front hip, coming forward. We can then extend arms out overhead, out to the sides, or straight back. This is option 1. Option 2, you can bring hands to hips, overhead, wherever your arms are. Start to lift the foot off the mat. Flex those toes, press the foot back. We can go a little further in that hinge. Coming forward, make sure the hips staying engaged, hamstrings may be on fire. Woo. And let's go ahead, releasing out, coming back to that standing mountain pose. So that is Warrior 3 on the left side, Warrior 3 on the right side. Balance in that right foot. Remember, we're stopping at whichever option feels right. So as we step back, we're hinging forward, and we can stay here. We can reach arms out overhead, out to the side, Superman arms or superhero, or just bring hands to the hips. If this feels good, stay. Or we can start to lift that back foot. Remember, we're pressing that back foot back, and then just start to come forward. Again, arms can reach to the back, one arm back, one arm up, out to the side. Woo! And let's slowly release back to standing mountain. Okay, now we're going to play with Half Moon, Warrior 3 Half Moon. This is where blocks would be super beneficial, but we're okay. We don't need them right now. So we're going to go into whichever version of Warrior 3 we decided was right in our bodies. Now we can stay here, or we can slowly bring the left hand, the same hand of the leg that's standing, tent the fingers or palm down. If we had a block, it would be even nicer. And then we can stop there or start to stack the hips. So we're pressing that foot back. Woo! Stack the shoulders. Begin to bring the gaze to the side of the mat. And we can stay, or lift the arm up, coming into that half moon. Slowly square the hips, And bring the foot back to the mat, forward fold. Oh. Pat ourselves on the back. Woo, nice job. Chair pose. Extended mountain. And standing mountain. Let's do the right side. So starting to prepare, I'm just going to grab my block just so I can show you, if you have a block, the options. So finding that warrior 3 position, whichever version. So I'm going to demonstrate on the side both versions. If our warrior 3 is here, our half moon can just look something like this. So from the side, half moon, we could just go here, making sure we're protecting that knee, and back to that warrior 3. If we've lifted the leg, if you've been there this whole time, wow, you can take a break or just keep going with it. If from here we want to use a block, transition into that warrior 3, half moon, grab the block, just make sure we're not totally dumping into it, and then start to stack the hips. Woo! Stack the shoulders. If we come out, it's okay. And then whenever we're ready, just bringing that hip back, the foot back, forward fold. Chair pose. Extended mountain. Standing mountain pose. Taking a moment to recognize the work that we just did. If that was really easy movements for you, that's fantastic. I'm proud of you. If you struggled, we are in the same club. Let's go ahead and reach arms up overhead. Exhale, fold. And let's step back, coming onto our knees. We're just going to do some nice big circles with the body. So if this isn't comfortable on the wrist, just don't go as far forward, or we can always bring the hands a little bit forward so we can get a little bit more movement in the hips. Now let's switch directions. We're just making big circles with the body around the knees and the arms. Let's do one more in this direction. And find center. Push back to child's pose. We can take a wide knee child's pose or keep the knees together. We're just going to keep the arms extending out in front. Let the head rest on the mat. And if this doesn't feel good on our shoulders, we can bend the arms, press the fists in. Just keep the shoulders engaged. So hips are going towards the heels. If our hips make it all the way to the heels, that's fantastic. If we have a little bit of knee mobility issues or hip mobility and our hips stay up, that's okay too. Let's go ahead, come back up to all fours. Woo. Bring the legs around front. Coming to a comfortable seat. Butterfly. Bottoms of the feet together. Keeping that diamond shape. Even if we can pull the heels all the way into the groin, let's stay with butterfly for today. And then just shifting so we're sitting up on the sit bones. So when we go into a boat pose, we're balancing between the tailbone and the sit bones. So we're leaning back a little bit. If on our practice, if we're leaning back a little bit, go ahead and find that place where the tailbone and sit bones are comfortable. If we're sitting up, see if we can find the place between the pubic bone, the pelvic bone, and the sit bones. So pressing the pelvic forward. Breathe. Just just checking out our feet for a minute. Hopefully they're not too dirty or stinky. And maybe just take a moment to rub that area just below the big toe, that padded area on our foot. And then maybe take the thumbs and press from the heel all the way up to that pad through the arch of the foot, to the arches of our feet, because we want to do both sides. And then we can just focus on the heel. Doesn't have to be on the bottom, maybe just right on the back of the heel. Breathe and just relax and letting go. Just making some circles with the thumbs as we press into the foot. Notice how that might help relax our hips. Maybe when we first got into this butterfly, our hips were like, nope, I'm not going anywhere. But as we started to massage the bottoms of our feet, maybe our hips relaxed and let go. And then just take the thumb into the middle part of the foot, so it's not in the arch, but it's just below that pad under our toes, and just press into that spot and just make circles there. Breathe. And let's go ahead and release. Shake it out. Bring knees together. We're going to come onto our backs. We're going to take a nice easy spinal twist. So arms are out to the side, opposite leg extends, one leg extends out, one knee stays bent. We're going to shift the hip of the leg that's straight towards the foot of the bent knee. So we come a little bit off center, and then we're going to twist. Ooh, breathe. Three breaths here. Bring the knee back to center. Shift our hips back to neutral. Switch sides. Bend the opposite knee. Extend the other leg. Shift the hip off center. Twist. We're just letting gravity do the work here. We're not forcing the knee over. We're not forcing anything. If we find that gravity's doing too much work for us, we can always bring the hand and just place it under the knee for a little bit of support. And slowly bring the knee back to center. Shift the hips back to neutral. Maybe hug both knees in towards the chest. Grabbing from behind the knees, pulling the knees in, and just rock side to side. Maybe releasing a little bit of that lower back, massaging the tailbone a little. Maybe we grab the knees and make some big circles with the knees. Breathe. And let's go ahead and release the feet down. Just prepare for relaxation. As we get settled and finding if we need some more movement before we can relax, going in and taking those movements. Maybe it's just windshield wiping the knees side to side, or maybe hug the knees into the chest, or another twist. Whatever that is, allowing ourselves to take that moment to move. Maybe we just need to stretch the arms up overhead or do a big shake. Whatever it is, nothing's wrong. So as we find our place in relaxation, tuck the shoulder blades under so the heart can be open, so the space across the chest and shoulders is open, and we can breathe with ease, very little effort. Relax the chin towards the chest. And see if we can let the shoulders now release. Arms can be open out to the side, or hands can rest on the torso, on the rib cage or the navel. can have knees bent or extended straight out from the hips. Checking in with the jaw and just release any tension that's living in that space behind the ears, all the way down the jawline. Maybe we just wiggle the jaw a little bit to bring awareness to that space. And then let the tongue release from the roof of the mouth. Bring awareness to the space, the flesh around the eyes. So we can allow that to just open up, let go. Now the space between the eyebrows. Bringing our thoughts to the intention that we set at the beginning of class, knowing that the universe has big plans for us. As we're sitting in this comfortable relaxation pose, are we able to clearly see now the ways in which we are blocking the universe from giving us what we want or what it wants to give to us? All the good things. And as we identify those potential blocks, if there are any, not judging them and not labeling them, just maybe taking note. And then after our practice today, maybe taking a few moments to just sit and write them out. And maybe dig a little deeper and see if we can discover ways that we can remove those blocks. If you'd like to continue in relaxation, I encourage you to go ahead and stay in relaxation. I'm going to go ahead and end the video. If you'd like to begin to come out of relaxation, just begin with slow movements, slowly increasing the depth of the breath, starting to move with the fingers and then the wrists and the arms and then the toes and the ankles. Just being gentle as we come back into our space. Have an amazing day. Namaste.